Pastors, how to lose 45 to 70 pounds in the next 12 months. What you're going to see in just a second is a recording of a community call that I did within the Fit Pastor Blueprint. It's a community of pastors only, and we're all on our journey to steward our bodies and help honor Christ with that. So, without further ado, here's the video. All right, pastors, I'm going to show you how you can lose anywhere from 45 to 70 pounds in the next 12 months, just like Pastor Jordan is on track to do right now. I'm going to show you the 5 steps that we've taken together to help him get on track for this. I'm going to show you how you can do it too, even if you have a busy ministry schedule. So let's just dive right in. So to start out, Pastor Jordan had a problem, and it was that consistency was more important than the plan. You see, he'd actually been given some pretty good plans before. There was a lot of things that would have worked for him. And even in our community, there's a great plan that he was following, that he was implementing, and that's fantastic. But if you don't follow it consistently, then the best plan in the world does not matter. So Jordan was stuck around 245 all the way from November through January, and I'll just show you what that looks like right here. In November, he was at 245. You can see him again in December, even in January, 245, 245.6. Very consistent, so that's a good, but just kind of stuck there. And so he tried dieting. He'd done some interesting, fun diets back in the day before we'd ever worked together, before we'd ever met each other. He was doing different workouts. He'd done some kettlebell stuff. And so he was into dieting, he was into workouts, he was doing all of the things. What that meant is that Jordan had a good plan. The problem is he didn't really have the consistency. And honestly, that's not really his fault because his ministry lifestyle, the life that his ministry was in, his family, all of those things, that is what kept putting high calorie food in front of him all the time. And so there was, the potlucks, there was the after church on the grounds dinners, there was when missionaries come to visit and you gotta take the missionaries out, the obligatory missionary visitor dinner thing. He had to do all of that. And I remember on top of that, he even told me 2 specific examples. One was a charcuterie board. People just kept bringing him to the office. So there was always this charcuterie, and he'd pass it and pass it and pass it. And so day after day, there was this thing right in front of him, this temptation, and it was easy to grab, easy to get to. And one piece of pepperoni or one piece of cheese is not the end of the world, but you don't ever just get one. You usually get a couple. And then after you get a couple, you keep a couple for a long, you know, a few days. You just keep getting a few and a few and a few. And then over time, it becomes a very high calorie splurge. And that's obviously not what we want. The second example is I think somebody dropped off like some kind of chocolate bouquet or I don't know. I don't remember if it was Valentine's Day candy or Halloween or something like that, but he had a ton just available to him. And so it was very common for even in his ministry, there to be a ton of temptations, a lot of access to foods that were not really helping him. And so again, he had a great plan. I'm not going to eat the food. The problem is the consistency side. That's when it's hard to be consistent when the options are inconsistent. And then on top of that, as if that's not enough, there was also travel. Right as soon as we started working together, he had a trip, halfway across the country, and he wasn't in control of the food that they were eating. He wasn't in control of the times that they were going to eat it at and all of that. Then, of course, we just had Easter this week, so there was the Easter prep and all the busyness that comes with that. And on top of that, he has a larger than average family. And so all of these things, he's got an infant at home, like all of these things pile up to make for an extremely busy lifestyle. And that's okay. That's not his fault. These are all beautiful things. These are all things that we would praise God for giving us. But it doesn't make it easy. It makes it typically more unpredictable. And so the goal became not a perfect plan, but consistency. So here's what we did. We focused on the actions, not the outcomes. See, a lot of people focus on the outcomes. They're like, I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to lose 30, 40, 50, even 100 pounds. And you probably, if you click this video, it's probably because you want to lose, somewhere between 45 and 70 pounds. You want the outcome of that. But the only way to get to a destination is to take the steps along the journey. So what we did is we focused on the actions. And here's the 5 things that we did. The very first one is we started out from day one by establishing an activity baseline. The whole point was we don't need to figure out all of the weight, we don't need to figure out all the calories, we don't need to figure out all your workouts. All we need to do today is get consistent at your tracking. Just track daily. And this baseline has given us the ability to see when to make different decisions, how to make informed decisions. So tracking daily was the very first thing. The second thing is nutrition. Now, a lot of people get this wrong um, because their ego gets in the way, and I'm 100% guilty of this. They would rather be perfect than actually do it. And so what happens is you mess up a day and you just don't track those calories because you don't want it to show up in MyFitnessPal that you went over your calories. And so what we did instead is we made sure that we just get it done. Even if it's not perfect, Jordan, just track everything that goes in your mouth. If it's got calories, put it in the app, make sure that it's logged. What that's done is it's given us again data to begin seeing, when you do this, this happens. When you don't do this, this happens. So this mindset of done is better than perfect, that's helped us, and that's been the second step we took. Now the third step is a loose calorie target. Now, I think restrictive calories obviously work. Like, if you want to lose weight fast, then you stick to a very restrictive diet. The problem with that is that most people can't do that the first time they step into a new diet. And honestly, even I don't like a very restrictive diet, and I've been doing this for a decade. So, for somebody just really getting started seriously, it was pretty important not to have an extremely strict diet, but a pretty loose one, kind of a flexible goal. And so, what we did is I just gave him kind of a range, just kind of hit this. And all of these things, by the way, I have a course in the Fit Pastor Blueprint. That's our online community, pastors only. You can get to it by going to skoolschool.com/fit pastor blueprint. I'll write it right here. Oops. And so if you go here, then I actually have a course inside there, and that's going to let you figure out all of your own personalized calories, the workouts that you need to be doing, your movement goals, and all of that stuff. But basically, what we did is we just used this and we built him a plan that had kind of a loose calorie target, not something super restrictive, not extremely difficult to hit, just something that worked for him in the moment that he was in. Notice this is not protein. This is not your carbs and fats. This is not here's what to eat at what hour during the day. This is not intermittent fasting, keto, paleo, any of that stuff. This is just a calorie goal. It's very simple. Number 4, I added a step goal. Now, what we also have in the pastor community is every day I post these little stewardship logs. And so you can go here and you can see it's just a few things that you need to track every day. And so there's a couple guys who've already tracked it. And when you do this, this helps you track and stay accountable. So like we talked about, the very first thing that we did was we track daily. We have that in the community, but you can do this on your own. You can use your fitness app on your iPhone or whatever. A lot of people have the Apple Watches and that tracks your steps. But all we did is we added a step goal. It wasn't super crazy. I think it was 5 to 10,000 steps per day. That's it. It's not even the 10K that everybody tells you have to have. Just 5 to 10,000. Get that, and that's been able to start moving that scale in the right direction. Now, what you're probably noticing is that all of this is relatively simple. Like, it's pretty easy. This is not a complex plan. These are not super difficult to achieve goals. These are not really hard things. They're just simple things. And typically, the simpler the plan, the better it works. So that's why I'm giving you these steps. Have a simple plan. Number 5, later we added workouts and then we adjusted them around church events, around his travel. We actually had to bump back a week of his training because of that travel week. That's fine. And the busy weeks. And so we already know that ministry is going to incur some time expense. It's going to be kind of hard to fit in everything all the time, every week. But that's okay because we're not trying to fit in every time. We're just trying to do the basics. We're focused on the actions, and we're just going to try to do our best with what we have. And the longer you focus on the actions, the better the outcomes become. Now, what I've also noticed is that the outcomes did happen. And so the scale did finally start moving. It was kind of funny because it was a long time between when we started and whenever it started really, bumping. And so the scale finally moved. He lost 6 pounds in 1 month. I'll just show you his little post here. He just made this 3 days ago, and he said, "I'm down six pounds since March 1st, and I haven't been this low in over a year." Now, 6 pounds doesn't seem like the biggest accomplishment. It's not like the 50 pounds or like the 300 pounds lost that you see in some guy's bio or whatever. But 6 pounds over a year, like, do the math. You do 6 times 12, that's 72 pounds in a year. So at that pace, he'd be on track to lose 45 to 70 pounds in the next 12 months. Now, his goal is only 30 pounds in the next 6 months. So this is 100% doable. And for you guys too, it's 100% doable if you literally just do these 5 things in the order that I gave them. There's nothing more complicated. Like, this is it. And so the scale finally started moving. And since January, he's actually lost more than just the 6 pounds. He's lost 10 pounds. I'll show you that chart again. In January, he was 245.6. And as of today, he was actually 235.6. So it's 10 pounds to the tenth of a pound. So he's lost 10 pounds. And that's actually not his lowest weight. You can see he's had some lower ones over here. So 11 pounds ish. So here's the thing, some people are going to implement this, they're going to crush it. If you feel like you might need some accountability on that process, and if maybe there's a lot of paths and you might overthink a little bit, then I've made it super simple and there's a program that you can follow. I would love to walk you through this. So join the waitlist. I'm currently all booked up with my clients, but if you would like to be one, then you can join that waitlist at the second link in the description. And so here's just a few practical tips before I leave you. Here's how you can use this too. Number one is a great plan is useless if you don't actually follow it in real life. Part of Jordan's plan wasn't that he didn't have or his problem wasn't that goodness. Part of Jordan's problem was that he was inconsistent, not that he had a bad plan. So it's not always the quality of the plan. You don't always need another thing. You don't always need to go find a different solution. Typically, what you just need to do is follow it and follow it long enough, and you will see results. Now, number two, start with the tracking, the basic habits, and a system that you can repeat. The best system is the one that you can follow. The best program is one that you can follow. Doesn't always mean that it's going to be a 10 out of 10 program. Sometimes it's not going to be the most optimal, or it's not going to be the most like scientific, but it still does better than nothing, right? We're still moving in the right direction. And bottom line, if a busy pastor with a big family and a large church and large ministry demands can do this through travel, stress, and church food, you can too. That's what I want for you. That's how you can lose 45 to 70 pounds this year. That's how you can become the fit pastor that you've been wanting to be.